Hello, everybody. I am so excited that you are all here. And I'm particularly excited to welcome my guest on this Spotlight series on Facebook Live, my dear, dear friend, Abby Ross. Abby and I go back a long, long time. I mean, we're talking about way, way back, like into the 60s, the flower power era. And we have a lot of memories to share. And she and I followed the same path in so many ways. We call ourselves soul sisters. And she is also an FMCA graduate. And we're going to also talk about how it's never too late to pursue your passion, to become a health coach, even if you're in retirement. So welcome, Abby. It is so great to see you.
Thank you, Sandra. This is so exciting and so spontaneous. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, as you can see, Abby and I are pretty bold. I think we've always been bold and sometimes renegades. I remember when I met which we'll share, met Abby in college, but just because we are choosing bold color choices. We didn't coordinate this, otherwise I would have been in a shade of purple, because we did both meet at Northwestern University. Go purple. Purple is our purple Wildcats. But I've always loved that about you, Abby, that you're very, very bold, and you've encouraged me to take more choices. For many years, I wore black and felt that was a safe color and I could hide in my black. But now I like reds and oranges and purples and bright, bright colors at this time in our lives. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Abby, and what you would like to share, any memories of how we met.
I have so much to share. I'll make this as brief as I possibly can. It was 1968 at Northwestern. I live in Miami and I wanted something different and cold. And there I was at Northwestern, and I met you, Sandra, and your boyfriend, Alan. And I had a new boyfriend, Northwestern, and we double dated. And that was that. I fell in love with you instantly. And we didn't really see all that much of each other, college days, et cetera, and life went on. And then we reconnected on Facebook. Sandy, every post you wrote, every time you said something or liked something, I resonated with me, because across the miles, I was going through very similar. And we kept loosely in touch. Thank God for Facebook keeping us connected. And then we saw each other maybe once or twice, as you recall. I get an email from you. It was the summer of 2018, and you were coming to Miami, where I live, and would I have lunch with you? Oh my gosh, would I have lunch with you? It's been years, 50 maybe. So I said, sure, where do I go? And I don't know, it was some fancy hotel in Miami Beach. And you told me that you were the CEO or the head of some kind of convention that was going to be there. Fine. So I went. I had no idea Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. I didn't even know what it was. And I walked into this room, this huge, huge ballroom, and I was home sweet home. Toastmasters had given me skills to go up and talk to anybody. And I think the word is work the room. I met everybody in that room, and it was just like I was home sweet home. They didn't look like me, but they thought, and they were alive and vitality and curious and wanted to learn. And the passion of health and wellness was just like permeated that room. And I wanted to know more. That's like the short version.
Yeah, and Abby and I are not ones to hide our age. So I'm going to be bold and ask you, how old were you at the time, Abby?
Okay, so you all can do the math. If I just turned 70 in October, and this was 2018, I was 2 years younger. Yes, I was 68 years old. And the last thing, I must be honest with you, Sandy, the last thing in the world that I wanted was another degree or certification. My plate is full. I'm retired. I was a psychologist and a teacher before that. just like you were. And I really did not need another career. That's very important to say. So when I looked online and I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with this? I started looking at the curriculum and the classes and the interests and the modalities and how you learn. And I just couldn't get enough. It was everything that all my life was leading me to.
So beautifully said. And so Abby is younger. I'm the older one in this relationship. So I'm going to turn 71. And I was at college, I was the year ahead of her. But it always struck me, and I don't know if any of you listening have somebody like this in your life where you just followed the same path. And it's hard to explain because the coincidences are eerie. Like we were both, you heard Abby say she was a psychologist, a teacher before that. Well, so was I. We both met our future husbands at Northwestern. They were in the same fraternity. They both became lawyers. So again, another similarity. We went through periods of time as we would talk to one another, interests like whether it was scrapbooking or hot yoga or macrobiotics during the time when that was in vogue. But we really seem to follow the same interests, the same careers, and also the same way of thinking. And
yeah, it's really interesting. Right now, you're mentioning two things that just are so relevant. Macrobiotics, which I no longer adhere to totally that diet, but so many of the principles, and age. So Lino Stanchik, who is he's a fabulous mentor of mine. Even to this day, I talked to them last week, he and his lovely wife, Jane. He told me about 5 years ago when I went for a consultation, I don't know, I was expecting him to say, eat more kale and maybe some kelp would help. And he told me this advice. He said, Abby, I want you to surround yourself with young, feminine energy. What was that? I had no clue what he meant by that, but he is my mentor and I just respect Lino so much. Within a couple of weeks, I found myself in Costa Rica for 1 month with intensive hot yoga certification training. Everybody was at least half my age. This was maybe a few years ago. And 2 hot session yogas a day, 90 minutes and 90 minutes. The second one came around, I just wanted a nap. Everybody else was ready to go. But the vitality of the young people. And that crosses over to now when I went to Functional Medicine Coaching Academy and we're in cohort groups with, mine was Tuesday at noon, maybe 20, I don't know how many people, 20 to 25 people. Again, most of them were young, very, very young. And I don't know about you, Sandy, but in my life, I always have a balance. And I got so many things out of this coaching academy. And one of the really amazing things was I really grew into being a role model mentor even more. I've heard before, and I'm sure you have too, I want to be like you when I grow up and blah, blah, blah. But this was something I really felt comfortable being as the older one. And age, they call it ageism now. When a woman would say to me, are you still working? Or, well, you look good for your age. Some of my friends our age, Sandra, they find that very offensive, but I think it's a compliment. I know where it's coming from. I understand where it's coming from. They like the vitality. They like that I'm just not, in a rocking chair. So age and being around young energy is very important for me.
Oh, I love that you're bringing this up because I could not agree more. And as founder of FMCA, and this is my mission to really, it's a mission to grow the field of health coaching on a personal level. It's how I stay vibrant. I have this mission. And also, like you, I love to be with a younger group. I feel energized, and I never once think, oh, I'm a lot older, whether it's going to a Pilates class, going to another type of exercise, or just being in a room. I've belonged to networking groups where I'm by far the oldest one, and I just love it. I love socializing, having people over, and it's a contrast because a lot of my contemporaries, I don't know if you feel this way, Abby, but they are more negative. They focus, they're saying things like, oh, it really sucks to get old. Oh, and it's just, and they're focusing on their aches and pains and I want to steer them in another direction. To focus on excitement of life and
do you
passion.
Find yourself looking at Urban Dictionary a lot? Like sometimes I don't know what they're talking about. I'll never forget one of the young women in the class said something like, I said some comment. She said, that's what she said. And of course I had to go look it up because I didn't know where it was coming from. But again, you mentioned another point. Can I tell you how I even got into this besides the fact that I met you? Okay, so I met you for lunch and I went online. And it was not cheap. It was not inexpensive. This is a costly, for me, growth experience. It was worth every second. It was like being in therapy for a million years. It was such a growth. But when we had to go around, I think, I don't know, maybe it's the first session, very first session, we had to say our why. What was the purpose of why we're even being here? And I think that's what a lot of people do nowadays. I guess it's, the zeitgeist of the time. Why am I here? And the other 20 to 25 younger women were like, I just graduated and I want a career, or I just got divorced and I want to get another career going, or a shift, or I want to get more skill set. They come to me. And I mean, come on. So I said, I want to stay young. This was, remember, 2018. And I want to learn what this Zoom thing is. Okay, so probably now I would never join up because I do know what the Zoom thing is. And that was my purpose because I didn't know anything about any of this stuff, teleconferencing, telezoom. And a side note to that is I live part-time in Palo Alto. And after I took your course, and graduated in August, I was so excited. Again, this is 2019, before any of this COVID. I found out that the Zoom headquarters were literally an hour from where I live. And I loved the whole Zoom experience. So I wiggled my way in to talk to the CEO of Zoom, Eric Ewan. This man could not have been more fabulous, more generous, more wonderful. He was so amazing. And I wanted to thank him for this gift of being able to take this class. I also had some suggestions how we could improve Zoom. But, he didn't really need any suggestions how he could improve Zoom. It was amazing. And I'll never forget when I started in September 11th, 2018, a week before, when I was just thinking, should I do this? I called you, Sandra, and I don't know if you remember this conversation. And I said, David and I travel a lot. We take 4 cruises and we go to Iceland and Japan. And I don't know how, once I figured out what Zoom was, how I could ever make the class, because there's certain requirements. You have to be at so many classes. And you said, Abby, you'll figure it out. You will make it work. We have people that are homeschooling 11 kids. We have pilots. We have CEOs of big corporations. They do it. You certainly can do it. I found out how to do it. I had 100% attendance. I am so proud of that, because here I am on an airplane and I'm able to Zoom. I was on a cruise to Iceland. I was in Japan, and I was able to do this. And that was part of this, the resourcefulness, the positive attitude that just permeates the whole thing.
You have said so many things that are just great pearls. And I remember there was a picture that you submitted early on. You were in the pool on the cruise ship and you had your book, you were reading it. And then you were so excited when you were on the plane and you had the Zoom going on. The flight attendant had this great conversation with you. You are a walking, talking ambassador for making it work, and also to be gutsy, to take risks, to take chance, to say, yeah, I'm going to go to the Zoom headquarters and I'm going to talk to the CEO, and you have this wonderful picture that you took with him, because that is part of living life fully. It's embracing all experiences and it's taking risks, not holding back to say, oh, he won't want to talk to me, who am I? But you just go for it. And that's what I've always loved about you.
Yes.
You are so embodiment of zest. Zest is a character strength, which we discuss and learn about in detail at FMCA, and this energy for life. And that's one of the things I remember when I first met you in 68, and I felt that you just were alive with excitement, zest, and making really bold choices.
Thank you, Sandy.
And love of learning. So, I mean, you are always posting on Facebook and other places, the things.
And the learning, what I love so much about this is there's so many ways to learn. And I learned so much about myself. I love walking. I have to do so many miles a day. I'm a marathoner, and I just love the walking, that I could listen to these tapes and the different ways that you presented the material was such a gift. In addition, because I'm 70, I also printed, Sandra, every single transcript. Thank you for having transcripts with everything. And I made it notebooks so that when I was on a plane or I was someplace captive, that I could go through and read in sheet protectors and in my binders in the old-fashioned ways. I loved the different modalities. It wasn't just a video, which, by the way, your videos were so current and so cutting edge, but it was like a role playing. Here was a role playing, and it was amazing, amazing, amazing. A struggle for me, as long as we're talking about the whole thing, a big struggle coming as a therapist, psychologist, was letting go of being the expert. And I never even realized how ingrained that was. You come, dear Abby, my name, hello, you come for advice. I mean, it was like, but people would come for advice and I would give the answer. And that, I have to tell you, took a while. I don't know how long, I don't know when it happened, but to undo that and to be able to let people, empower people to get the answer by themselves. And I think now, Dr. Benjamin Spock, not Mr. Spock, but Dr. Benjamin Spock happened to be a personal friend of mine. And his book, for those of you that may not know, Baby and Child Care, was how our generation was brought up. We didn't have Google, of course. And this book sold more than the Bible. Our mothers had it by our bedside, and they would look at it. And the very first sentence of Dr. Spock's book was, trust yourself. You know more than you think you know. And having that in my head for years, and then coming to this, I had to undo that I'm the expert and help people seek inside. And I had to bite my tongue a lot. I had to bite my tongue. I don't know how it was for you also as a psychologist, but that I had to unlearn and do a different mindset.
Yeah, I think everybody who comes to us with some prior training in healthcare, as a therapist, as a medical doctor, our own Dr. Christy Hughes, who was one of the directors of medical education for Institute for Functional Medicine. She's on their faculty at IFM, and she teaches for us. And she also went through the program as a student, and this past year. And she said, in my cohort group, I was the worst one. I struggled. I kept wanting to jump in and tell the client what to do. So what we're talking about is in our cohort groups, we have coaching sessions where everybody who's a student will take turns. You are the coach, I'm the client, and everybody supports you and gives you feedback. And so those who come in as the expert may struggle more. And people with no background in healthcare often feel intimidated, like, what am I doing here? I'm not a nutritionist, a medical doctor, a psychologist. How can I possibly become a coach? And actually, they tend to struggle less. So I'm glad you brought that up. But I want to get back to that Dr. Spock comment, because I think that's profound and it says it all. I never knew that was in his book. And of course, I remember that paperback. It was like, yeah, my mother, I mean, it was the Bible of what to do raising kids. I remember it was like threadbare, and it was read hundreds of times over and over again.
That's so true. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So you are committed to taking care of yourself. Since I've known you, as we've got reconnected later in life now, I've always been just so impressed by your continuing to stay vibrant and physically active. Do you mind sharing your fitness regimen and what you love
it's
to do,
interesting that
what it's like?
you mentioned that, because right now, I hope anybody listening to this, I hope you share this wherever this goes to maybe somebody that may be even older that has no idea of ever doing this, because this experience has been life-changing. Please listen to this. It's very important to what's happening right now. Another life-changing. I use that word a lot. I'm now in the middle of a 75 hard challenge. That's what it's called. It's all over the internet. All you have to do is look up 75 hard challenge. So it's 75 days. And right now I am in the middle. And it is life-changing. It's just 5 rules that you do. And if you miss one, you start over. And you can find them. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but it is really, I just keep challenging myself. I've never done a challenge before online. There's a Facebook group that's fabulous. It's mental toughness. That's what it is. And the physical benefits, I can't even tell you. It's like, oh, by the way, it's transformational. And it's just an amazing experience. 75 hard challenge.
Wow.
Do I have a minute just to give you the 5 rules? I'll do it real fast.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. Please do.
So it's 5 rules, and if you miss one, like during the day, then you have to start over at day 75. Okay, 5 rules. Okay, number 1, you have to work out twice a day for 45 minutes each. It could be a walk, it could be yoga, but it has to be 45 minutes, mental toughness. And one has to be outside. They both can be, but one has to be outside. Okay, I live in Miami. I get a pass on that one. So that's 1. Okay. Second of all, every day you need to take a progress photo, only for yourself. Oh my gosh, I get out of bed, because this is the one people forget to do, and I take a progress photo, because each day you can't see the difference. But between day 1 and today, my day 39, there's a difference. And I put a bikini on. Sandra, I don't know when the last time you wore a bikini, but I got online, the cheapest thing I could find, and I see the difference. Okay, it's just for myself. Third, follow a diet of your own choosing. Anything you want. I do ketogenic, which is fabulous for me. This is my 5th year of it. And okay, so follow any diet you want. And if you cheat one time, one bite, you start over. Mental toughness. And you know what is cheating. Trust me. I mean, it just becomes very clear. Okay, what else do you have to do? You have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction self-development or self-improvement book. Okay, no big deal. Can't be a biography. It's got to be self-help or self-development. And sometimes if you're going to say that to the end of the day, you fall asleep. So again, self-discipline, mental toughness. The next one, I can't believe, turned out to be my hardest one, when I would have thought it was the easiest. 1 gallon a day of water, plain water. Everybody says, can I add lemon? Can I add this? I drink a lot of water, which I'm sure you do too. Hydration is like critical to all we do. However, having plain water, and that, you have to plan for it. After 6 o'clock, I'll be in the bathroom all night. So that's very, very interesting. I'd say I think I covered all of them. And at 75 days, so on the Facebook group, we're all over. Instagram, it's all over. The before and after, besides the mental toughness. The man that created it, Andy Purcell, has podcasts and everything. His language is a bit relaxed. And that's another thing. Instead of being offended, I didn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And Sandra, that's part of the learning that I got from you, from the classes, the positive. I knew there was something in it. I didn't want to get turned off because he might not use words that I use in everyday language, but there was something in it. There's also an app. It's $5. It's terrific. It just boom, boom, boom. It's just a checklist, but of course you can do that on your own. And there's a book, but you don't need the book. 75 hard challenge. And if anybody does join, tell Sandra, because I'd love to hear, and I'd be more than happy to tell you. I'm only halfway through now. It's about get out of your comfort zone and push yourself.
Yeah, that is what it's all about. Get out of your comfort zone, push yourself, do something that is going to really contribute to your own personal well-being, having a mission and purpose in life, and celebrating life. I think that's what, whether it's the challenge to say, look how I can do it, I can change, and that sense of accomplishment. We all need that. In fact, that's one of the pillars of well-being, according to positive psychology, which people who come to FMCA learn all about.